My goodness gracious, it's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and in Washington, D.C., and this is news that you can use from CarEdge with your hosts, Ray and Zach. And I must say, it is miserable here in Ventnor City today, so there is a weather update which is newsworthy in and of itself.
You know what else is miserable, Dad? Vehicle affordability.
Did we talk about this yesterday?
Sorry, wait a second. I just saw this comment. Next week, the thumbnail.
Well, I didn't see today's thumbnail, so maybe you should pull it up so I can see what it is.
Okay, for those of you that listen to the podcast, the comment from Lumber Jeff is next week the thumbnail will be Ray's crushed body underneath the flaming price of an F-150. You know what, Lumber Jeff? It very well might be. We're going to kick things off. We have the Q3 state of the auto market from Cox Automotive, and this is alarming, all right? I went with it's officially the worst time ever to buy a car because, Dad,
yes,
when you look at the data that Cox Automotive has, household income determines who can afford a car. About 50% of households can only afford a $400 a month car payment. Distribution of payment potential versus 2023 reality. Look at this.
Wait. Before you go any further, what was the average car payment last month?
The average car payment last month for a new vehicle was $770. The average car payment last month for a new lease was $586, and the average car payment for a used car was $592.
So help me with this. If 50% of the population can't afford a car payment over $400 a month, what the hell are they left to buy?
Exactly, Dad. Truly, look at this. 25% of Americans, the most they could afford to pay, the most, if they really were overextending themselves, would be $300 a month. Like, that's not reality for many people here. Again, average car payment, $770, $592, lease $586. The reason I went with it's officially the worst time ever to buy a car is because when you look at the data that came out from Cox Automotive today, it just demonstrates how unaffordable it is for anyone to find anything that they can actually, comfortably pay for it. I mean, you try and find a $400 a month car payment, it doesn't really exist out there.
Well, it's very difficult to find. I mean, what do you have to finance? $20,000 to be at $400 a month? And how old of a car would it have to be to only be financing $20,000? And
let's do it. Let's do it. You know me. You know how I like to operate. Let's do it. I'm at the free CarEdge out the door price calculator. We're going to pull in the monthly payment terms. You said $20,000.
Yes.
And, out the door price is going to factor in taxes and things like that. So let's say we're in, Georgia. We don't have a trade-in. Cash down. Am I putting any cash down, Dad?
Sure, $2,000.
All right, we're putting 10% down. We're putting $2,000 down. How long of a loan term am I doing?
Well, that's the problem because this is an older car. So how long of a loan term can you get? Put 60 months.
All right, we'll do 60 months. And then the average interest rate, let's jump back to the data over from Cox Automotive.
13.85%?
What was that, Pops?
What is it, 13.85? Oh, I'm sorry, 14.03%?
The average used car interest rate is 14.03%. That comes from Cox Automotive. So let's plug that in. 14.03. When I enter that in, my out-the-door price in the state of Georgia on a $20,000 selling price is actually $22,227. Ooh, we're close, man. $470.96. So I could either, let's see, could I extend the term?
I don't know if you could actually extend the term.
If I extend it to 72 months, I'm at $417 a month. Let's see, how do I get under $400 a month? 84-month loan on a $20,000.
You're not getting an 84-month loan. So
yeah, not even at 14% interest.
Yeah, you would need money down. You would need more than 10% down. So And $20,000 buys a 6, 7, 8 year old used car. Is the bank really going to finance it for another 6 years?
You're saying
Um,
6, 7, 8-year-old used car. Remember that data that you and I looked at the other day, Dad? We've got a video coming out on the CarEdge channel, I think on Thursday of this week, breaking that data down.
yeah,
I don't know if $20,000 goes as far as you think, Dad. Let me pull it up here on the screen. This data comes from IC Cars. So we're talking just about used cars right now.
yes.
Change in average price of used cars by age, 2019 to 2023. The average price of a 1-year-old used car in 2019 was $27,793. The average price of a 1-year-old used car in 2023 is $46,403. Pops,
So
you're saying
go down to 8 years.
you have to find
Bingo.
an 8-year-old car that has an average transaction price of $19,476 to be able to afford, or to be able to afford. You're going to have to find that 8-year-old used car plus put 20% down and get approved on a 60-month note at the average interest rate to get under $400 a month payments right now, Pops.
Yeah, how do you do that? I'm not, I guess that's a quasi rhetorical question, but I mean, why would a bank I don't know, would a bank do a 5-year note, okay, on an 8-year-old car? And let's say that this 8-year-old car was driven a little less than the average annual miles in this country. And the average annual miles is about 15,000 miles a year. Let's say this particular car was only driven 12,000 miles a year. So is a bank going to loan $20,000 or a little more on an 8-year-old car with 96,000 miles on the odometer? Are they going to write a loan for 5 years? I mean, what's going to happen in 5 years on a 96,000 mile car? Okay.
Yeah, talk us through what happens when you go from
Think about this
90,000 miles to
think about this for a second. 8 years ago, you have platinum tip spark plugs in the car, so it doesn't need its first tune up, new plugs and everything, till around 110,000 miles. Okay, so in a year's time, you're going to have to do the first tune up on the vehicle. Does it have a timing chain? If it has a timing chain, the timing chain will probably go at a certain point, 120, 125,000 miles. Maybe it has a timing belt and the timing belt stretches, and so you need to replace the time. I mean, there are any number of relatively expensive issues that will crop up over the 5 years that you're planning on keeping that car to be able to pay back that loan. Where are you getting the money for those major repairs that will be coming up on the car? I mean, this, and I can tell you from having spent 43 years in retail automotive, customers think of today and they think of their monthly payment today.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, I can afford that $420 a month today. They ain't thinking about a year and a half from now, when not only are they going to have to afford that $420 a month payment, but they're going to have a $1,500 to $2,000 repair bill that they're going to have to pay that month as well. So suddenly their car payment for that month went from $420 to, I don't know, $2,420. There is no way, when the vast majority of Americans don't have $1,000 put away in case of an emergency, that they're going to be able to cover the cost of repairs that are going to be needed on that vehicle. It is beyond me what we have done in this country to make transportation no longer affordable for the masses. And it's one thing if you're living in a city that has mass transportation, or in a metropolitan area that has enough mass transportation to be able
Yep.
to get you from where you live to where you work. But once you start getting out of metro areas, you lose that ability. You need some form of motorized transportation to get you places. I mean, I know when we were in Detroit the other day, I kept thinking to myself, I kept seeing those Lime electric scooters everywhere.
Yeah.
How many people are going to rely on that? Going to rely on electric bikes, maybe cheap scooters, Vespa knockoffs. Those things are literally going to become their mode of transportation, because automobiles, pickup trucks, SUVs will no longer be affordable even on a pre-owned level for people.
Pops, what percent, and I'll ask this to the chat as well, what percent of Americans think new vehicle ownership is now financially out of reach? What do you think?
What percent?
Yep.
I would say 67% of Americans feel like purchasing a new automobile is out of reach.
All right, 67% from my dad.
Yeah.
Regina says 70%. Pops, I'll give you a hint. It's higher than 67. It's higher than Regina's 70. Jarrett, it's higher than 53. Brad, it is lower than 100%.
Although perhaps it should be 100%.
Maddie Visions is getting pretty close at 75%. That Cox Automotive, which it's ironic, they're the monopoly that run. In my opinion, they are a monopoly that runs the auto industry behind the scenes.
Yes.
83% of their respondents think new vehicle ownership is financially out of reach.
That's a staggering number. We keep. I guess
staggering, Dad. I mean, staggering would be half. Staggering would be 40%. It's 83. 8 out of 10 people. 4 out of 5 people walking around right now think, okay, I'll never own a new car because it's too expensive.
Well, you know what?
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, 4 out of 5 people would be correct to think that. I mean, with what prices are, they would be absolutely correct to think that new car ownership is completely out of the question. Now, you have to say to yourself, or you have to start asking the questions, whose fault is that? Okay. Is it the government's fault because of governmental regulations and safety regulations? Could be a contributing factor. Is it the automobile manufacturer's fault because they are all publicly traded companies, and their first responsibility, their fiduciary responsibility, is to their shareholders to figure out how to have the greatest return on investments profit-wise for their shareholders? So I would say, yeah, the manufacturers are part and parcel of what the problem is. Is it the Federal Reserve because they have raised interest rates so dramatically in the last 15 to 18 months that it has become patently unaffordable for most people? I would say, yep, the Fed is partially responsible for that. Is it banks who agreed to finance excessive amounts of money on cars that weren't worth anywhere near what they were financing? You got to say, well, yeah, the banks are part of the problem. So when you look around, everybody from the government to the Federal Reserve to the manufacturers to the dealers who overcharged to the banks who agreed to finance all that, everyone involved in the industry is responsible. And none of them are doing a damn thing about that. It is almost as if they have all decided, this is what they want to have happen. That merely 17% of the population will be able to buy new cars. And that is a sufficient enough slice of the population that these manufacturers, dealers, banks feel as if they can still be profitable enough only selling to 17% of the population. That's a scary proposition. You have taken away in a heartbeat any thoughts of what a middle class lifestyle should be in this country. There will only be, moving forward, two lifestyles: the working poor and the uber wealthy. And there ain't going to be anything in between other than, from the working poor side, abject resentment for the uber wealthy. Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad tidings, but things normally don't work out well when such a small percentage of the population can do things and the vast majority of the population cannot. At some point in time, the majority might start to say, we don't like living quite like this anymore. Either we want more, or you got to figure out how to make stuff less expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look at the current environment. I mean, truly, we were in Detroit. We were at the Ford factory tour. The Ford factory tour starts with two videos. The first video talks about the original unionization, the beginnings of the United Auto Workers. I mean, it literally talks about that. And in that film that Ford produced and plays for you when you go and visit their Rouge factory in Dearborn, Michigan, it talks about Henry Ford's dream and his vision of his workers, his laborers, being able to afford and drive a new Ford vehicle. And we had yesterday's show was all about Ford, because the latest data we had from Ford is that the average monthly payment on an F-150, not an F-Series, on an F-150 is $983, followed up with today's data from Cox Automotive. I'll pull it up on the screen again. About 50% of households can only afford a $400 a month payment. So we're sitting in an environment, we're having this conversation of strike at Ford. The laborers are saying, pay us more. Ford doesn't actually have the money, it seems like, or the willingness to want to pay them more. We've got competitors, Tesla, coming into the market, and others, that produce cheaper electric vehicles. It's a fascinating time, Deb, because you're right. Those are getting pissed off that, hey, why can't we afford anything? Eventually, they'll vote with their pocketbooks and with their wallets. And you've got to imagine this is how capitalism is supposed to work. Someone will come in, an entity will come in, a corporation will come in and fill that void. Doesn't seem like it's going to be Toyota. It doesn't seem like it's going to be Honda. Definitely doesn't seem like it's going to be any of the domestics. They can't afford to lower their prices. But someone somewhere is going to have to offer relief to consumers who actually want to, I don't know, not bum rides from friends, or as you were suggesting earlier, ride Lime scooters on Interstate 80. Okay, man? Like, someone's going to come in with some relief. They have to. That's how capitalism works.
It just seems to me, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm foolish, but it just seems to me that if you work hard and you're making a living, that you should be entitled to enjoying some of life's benefits. Okay. Now, I know that Antonio shared an article with us about how luxury goods sales have gone up, and 27% of those who are buying luxury goods are people that make $50,000 a year or less. Absolutely, the people that should not be buying luxury goods. But the point is that if you work hard, trying to make some money, trying to make a better life for yourself and your family, that you should be able to enjoy some of the rewards of that work. That includes something along the lines of what I grew up knowing to be a middle-class lifestyle. I live in Ventnor City, New Jersey. I don't live in Ventnor City. I live in Ventnor Heights, okay? So I'm going to explain this to you the best way I can for where I live. I live on the poor side of the inland waterway, okay? Ventnor has the island side, which is on the beach side of the inland waterway, which is anywhere from 2 to 3 blocks from the inland waterway to the ocean, to the beach. I live on the opposite side of that, and there's more of Ventnor on the opposite side of that, which is the poor side of Ventnor, so to speak. And homes in Ventnor Heights always sold for hundreds of $1,000s less than those on the beach side of the inland waterway. Well, I can tell you today that it appears as if the average asking price for a home on the poor side now is approaching $500,000. $500,000 when it was $250,000 just a couple of years ago. Who can afford it? How do people? I mean, how can you be middle class when you can't even afford to buy a house anymore?
Let's keep it moving, Pops. Let's keep it moving.
Sorry.
We've done 20 minutes of affordability crisis, followed up by yesterday's 30 minutes of affordability crisis. If you're noticing a theme here, folks, it's that we're very passionate about finding better ways for people to get from point A to point B, ways that they can actually afford. Let's go to the chat here, Dad. We've got from Core Guy. Thanks for the contribution.
Thank you, Core Guy.
My country has zero middle class, only working class, poor, and uber rich. I'm telling you now, folks, America is several decades away from that. So there you go. From Core Guy, we appreciate your contribution. From James, thank you for chatting. And James, we appreciate you being a part of our community and supporting us like this. It means a lot to us. You can put that towards that down payment, Pops, on that $500,000 house that you're talking about.
Well,
all right, Dad, let's. Yeah, I know you're not buying that house. Let's switch gears here for just a moment. One other thing related to, we had mentioned Ford. We've got continuing developments with the UAW strike. This was fascinating, Dad.
Yes.
Ford came out and they have stopped work on their Blue Oval battery park, which is their huge EV initiative, kind of like the Rouge plant that we visited. This is their big new initiative. And the United Auto Workers UAW president slamming them for that decision. Ford has come out. This is interesting when you start to line up the stories. What was it, 2 weeks ago that they got a $4 billion line of credit? Now they're halting production or work on their new Blue Oval facility.
And
I mean,
didn't they get $9 billion from the federal government as well?
Yeah, to work on that. Yes, it's like, what's going on at Ford, man? What's going on at Ford? That's the question I'm asking.
What's going on at Ford? I don't know. Maybe they're realizing there's no money to be made selling EVs. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Maybe they're afraid that, and I read the comments. Everybody says labor costs for vehicle production only represents 5% of all the costs. So even if labor costs doubled, it's still only 10%, which indicates, that there's a lot of greed on the manufacturer's parts. But, I think maybe the manufacturer saying, okay, our labor costs are going to go up. And based on what we're seeing going on in the marketplace at the moment, we're going to have to start lowering our damn prices, not raising the damn prices. So maybe they're extrapolating from that it might not be the best use of $3.5 billion at the moment to invest it in that battery plant. I don't know. I keep trying to warn the American people that I'm not very bright. I'm not a real smart guy. I might have a lot of opinions, but I don't know the answers to most of this stuff. I really don't.
Pops, I want to remind everyone, if you don't mind, lift your sweatshirt up real quick. My dad is wearing the Out the Door Price merch. If you are interested, it's at shop.caredge.com. We have, if it's taxable, it's negotiable. Knowledge is power. We also have, it should be on here somewhere, page 2, Out the Door Price, as well as what is the buy rate. If you are going to buy a car anytime soon, I encourage you to walk into the dealership wearing one of those. I absolutely love it, Dad.
I think we need to get some merch that says, "What's an affordable payment?"
Less than $400 a month.
Yeah.
Now find me a less than $400 a month car. Now,
Yeah.
Dad, let's have our favorite segment of the show, if you don't mind.
Really? You got to be kidding me.
All right. So maybe the solution to our affordability problems, Dad, is that everyone needs to be driving a Jeep Gladiator. The first time I have ever seen, and we've been doing this, I've been in the auto industry for 3.5 years. My dad, 43 years. Jeep Gladiator gets record $20,000 discount off of MSRP.
Wow. Wow. See what happens when stuff doesn't sell?
$20,000 discount. Now, I got to ask you,
Yes.
if you actually contacted this dealership, do you think the price would actually be $32,346? The MSRP is $52,505. Dealer discount of $12,283, $7,876 in rebates. Internet price of $32,346. Do you think it's bait and switch, Pops, or do you think the $20,000 discounts are here to stay for Gladiators?
I think it's bait and switch because there's $7,876 of available rebates, and probably most people might qualify for, I don't know, 3,500 of that. So I think they've added every rebate that is humanly possible that 99% of the population does not qualify for. That's just my guess, having spent 43 years in the car business and knowing how most dealers will use deceptive advertising means to encourage people to, well, show up and then be disappointed.
Imagine if it was legitimate, and imagine that your $32,000 price point car was a Jeep Gladiator, and we just saw everyone like
Yeah.
Honda Civics or Toyota Camrys are now Jeep Gladiators. Everyone's just riding around in those because the quality of them's a little meh. But I mean that'd be an interesting dynamic, that everyone on the highway driving those crazy looking Gladiators.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, that is knowing full well that so many dealers build their business based on deception, and advertising as an industry is, well, at the very least, psychological deception,
Definitely.
if not outright deception. It Do I hate a dealer for doing something like that? Absolutely. Put what the real rebates are that people can qualify for, not the dream rebates. Well, you have to be military, you have to be a recent college graduate, you have to have graduated from an Ivy League school with a 4.0 grade point average. I mean, it's all. It's all BS. It's all just. When your entire business operation is based on deception, I don't know how you sleep at night. Okay, if you're the owner of that,
Yeah.
you have to realize that you're doing something wrong if the only way you feel you can operate is by deceiving your customers to get them to come into your door. At a certain point, there has to be truth in advertising, and I wouldn't care if it was the Jeep dealer and said, hey, the Gladiator is way overpriced. You want some truth in advertising? This piece of poo is way overpriced. Okay, we're going to give you a discount of $12,000, and then whatever incentives you qualify for, you will get. Okay, because those factory incentives don't cost the dealer a penny. Not a penny. It's not
think
money
about
out of
it.
your pocket.
At a minimum, there's $12,000 that the dealer's taken off of that. I mean, that's insane
Yes.
when you think about what those were selling for, I don't know, even just a year ago.
Well, I mean, when we were at the Jeep dealership and we were looking at car, and we're going, what is this? What are these dealers thinking? Forget the dealer. What the hell is Jeep thinking pricing them this high? What are any of the manufacturers thinking I mean, we know that inflation has been running over the last 3 years, maybe it amounts to about 20% or so. But MSRPs have gone up. The lowest any of the manufacturers have gone up, I think, was Subaru at a little over 25%.
Yep, exactly.
There is, at a certain point, the manufacturer greed has to stop, and the dealer deception in order to um, uh, be able to sell cars has to stop. There just there just has to be some honest to goodness truth in advertising. You know what? I think people would appreciate it if dealers just came out and said, "Hey, the stuff's a little overpriced, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to lower the price, but please come in."
All right, here's what we're doing to try and help. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. First things first, if you are selling a car, I love to do these experiments. Here's how to get more information in your hands before you go into that dealership. Carvana just told me, Dad,
Yes.
lucky for me, my 2020 Honda Civic with 27,100 miles is worth $18,300. Doesn't matter if you're selling a car to Carvana or the dealer down your street, folks. Please use this free tool, because look at the competitive offers, gang. Holy cow. So this is number one. That's an $8,000 difference, $7,500 difference. CarMax is offering $26,000. The Car Gurus dealer network, $22,820. Again, I literally just got this email. Congratulations, Zach. Your 2020 Honda Civic value has gone up $115. No, you're wrong, Carvana. It has gone up to $26,000. CarEdge.com/sell. The reason I'm bringing that up, Dad, is because it doesn't matter if you're thinking about selling your car to Carvana or the dealer down the street. You have to get ammunition, get information. The information is your power. The other thing that I will mention, for a limited time, we are bringing back Concierge. If you go to CarEdge.com right now, it'll tell you how to get access to Concierge. It's for a limited time, but we're slowly bringing that back out. We obviously have our initiative with the trusted dealers that we've been working with. So if you are interested in purchasing a Ford vehicle, we've got a trusted dealer partner that we can connect you with. We don't even connect you. We do the whole thing for you. And Concierge, I'm not going to talk too much about it because we don't want to get too overwhelmed, but Concierge, where we do the whole thing, soup to nuts for you, car gets delivered to your door, that is back for a limited time. So please, those are two ways that we can help you, not to mention the fact we have the end of month campaign going on right now. So we've got all the other crapola that's for discounts right now to just try and help people. So we're doing our best to just try and be honest and upfront and give people information so that they can be empowered as they go do what is a very difficult thing, which is spending tens of thousands of dollars. On something.
One of the things that I learned when I started in the business in 1977. We're asking people to spend a lot of money, big chunk of their money. And I don't know, I live by the thought that, well, if you're asking people to spend that kind of money, at the very least, they should be able to have a good time doing it. I mean, if the average transaction price for a new vehicle in America today is like $47,000 or so, well, if I'm spending $47,000, I want to have some fun. I want it to be a very, very pleasant experience. I even expect to be entertained to a certain degree. And somewhere along the line, people have been okay with not having a good time when it comes to spending that kind of money. And that's got to change. I mean, that just has to change. I don't think we're asking too much for the dealers when they ask us to spend that kind of money, to allow us to have a good time doing it and not make it drudgery and not make it the least favorite experience that we've ever had in our lifetime. It shouldn't be that way. Just shouldn't.
But some of you dealers who do that, please keep doing it. It keeps us in business. We get to help people. So now I'm totally kidding. Obviously, we were trying to propel the industry in that direction. All right, Dad, let's call it a show. Friendly announcement for you and the audience. I'm not here until next Wednesday.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm off for a week, man.
Oh, okay. Where are you going to be? Tell people where you're going to be.
I am doing my first ever professional formal leadership training. So I was accepted into a program. I can't announce yet, but once we do the first session, then I'm going to put it on my LinkedIn, all proud and happy. Doing my first ever professional leadership training. So I'm offline tomorrow through Sunday for that. So it's pretty intensive. And then on Monday, I'm visiting with a mentor of mine. And then on Tuesday, I'm flying back home. That being said,
yes,
There should be shows, Pops. Talk to the team. We're trying to line up some co-hosts and some guests for you. So there will be some shows. All right. I
Okay.
just won't be by your side. We've got Josh Fagan from
Yeah.
sueyourdealer.com lined up for Thursday. So you and Josh will be having a fun conversation.
Yes.
And hopefully I'll be able to get a few other folks on the team and outsiders to come in as well. But I'm very excited. I've never done professional leadership training. I have so much to learn. So that is why I will be on hiatus, that and then meeting with a mentor. So sorry, I'm not going to be here, but I'm really excited. And it felt like something I couldn't pass up.
As a proud father, I will say you have a damn good excuse not to be here. So I'll let you slide this time.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you.
And just enjoy it and learn a lot, and you'll be amazed at the growth you see in yourself over the course of time. So I'm really happy for you, proud for you, and yeah, even if I have to do a half-hour monologue, I don't know, whatever we need to do. But I'm assuming that I'll have some help putting some of this together.
100%, Dad. 100%. All right.
Cool.
My dad will be back tomorrow. I'll be back in a week. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us, Dad. Enjoy the afternoon, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. I love you, handsome. I'll have a safe flight wherever the hell you're going.
I'll text you, obviously.